Alright, let's get this correct. Okay. Let me just double check. Oh, there we go. Let's see if this works. Using a new program. Oh, 0 concurrent viewers. Okay. Oh, there we go. Alright, sweet, it works. I'm live. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's go tweet it out. Share, copy link. Go here. Talking. Prattling away. Excellent connection. Sweet. Prattle, prattle. Okay, so. Let's see. Is there anyone else here? I don't think so. This is so weird doing it for OBS. It's also my first time doing it for OBS. So I guess I can wait for some people to come. Also, let's see. And yes, I did just get out of the shower. Well, bath, but yeah. Let's go announce it, I guess, on my Discord. Why not? Ugh. I'm just glad the connection is so good. To playback, huh? I'm so confused. This is all so new. Okay. So I have a viewer. It's amazing. It's so nice. I'm still live, right? I think so. You'll have to forgive me. This is like my first time actually using OBS. Okay. Oops. There we go. So, what I want to talk about today, I guess I can talk a little bit about how therapy's been going and whatnot. So far, it's been going really well. A lot of it is covering basically developing coping techniques, which is standard CBT stuff. And CBT, by the way, stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. And so, trying to think. And so, yeah, it's helped my recovery a lot. And my Abilify. So we've gone over things like what we can't control, nice Stoic stuff. I'm sure the Stoics would be happy. Also, boundaries, setting them, when it's okay to break them, which it's almost never okay, by the way. Exception being, like, extreme circumstances. It reminds me of that film in, what was it, Hancock? Where he was afraid of picking up this woman. He's like, oh, I'm going to touch you, I'm going to touch you. Is that okay? And the woman's like, yes, just get me out of here. Which is kind of just while humorous, it kind of shows the circumstances in which it's okay to break some boundaries. In this case, saving her life. Yeah, every day they ask like if I'm okay, suicidal, homicidal, all sorts of fun stuff, which I guess makes sense. Partial hospitalization, after all. Other than that, we have an occupational therapist who meets us with us. I also have a chaplain, which is interesting. And yeah, that's pretty much about what I can say. Usually, like, it's divided into time for processing, where we can process certain events. And yeah, then they lecture for a little while on whatever various topics we either bring up or they have for that day. I hear you, airplane. I see you, fair. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. One concurrent viewer. Well, yes. Hello, one viewer. Other than that, though, I've been studying Sanskrit. Which, fun thing about that, the alphabet is taking me a little bit longer than I had hoped to get down. Mainly because of all the stressors and whatnot. But my recommendation for anyone who may want to follow along or whatnot, make sure not to rely on transliteration. In fact, if you can just avoid transliteration and get like an app or something to where they just pronounce the name of the letter, that would be best. Because the sooner you can get off of transliteration, the overall better it's going to be. And I know it's harder. Hell, it's harder for me. But when it comes down to it, overall, in the long run, it's going to help you a lot more. Like, it's helped me a lot in terms of understanding another phenomenon, which is called sandhi. Sandhi is basically when two consonants come together and they form another consonant, or two vowels come together and they form another vowel. So, for example, instead of saying I, when A and I come together, they'll change that into an E. Which makes sense since E originally represented A and I. Kind of like how it turned out in classical Latin, really, where ecclesiastical, I mean, where in classical Latin it would be Calon, in ecclesiastical Latin it would be Calon, or puella, puellai, puella, puelle, in ecclesiastical Latin. So that sort of diphthong became, of AE, just simply became an E. Similar thing in Welsh, actually, now that I think about it, where in Welsh the plural ending is spelled with an AU. Of course, granted, U here represents E, which is a mid-central vowel rather than a rounded vowel. But instead of pronouncing it as you would expect, I, they pronounce it as either A, where you just slash off the U, or they pronounce it as A. So, peth, which means a thing, goes to pethe, or petha, which means things. And so that is basically a basic process within Sanskritam. And it's one with a ton of rules to it. Like, oh my god. I mean, granted, I think there's a simplification of the rules. Like, a lot of it is just, if you have a phonological intuition about you, then a lot of the rules make sense. So, for example, T before a vowel becomes a D. So, instead of saying tat, et tat, tatetat, or tatetat, they would say tatetat. Which makes sense because usually, like, intervocalic vowels, people tend to like to pronounce those as voiced rather than voiceless. Some of the other rules are a little bit stranger and will take a lot of time to get used to. It is so weird watching myself up there. Okay, anyhow. But, yeah, it it makes a lot of sense when you break it down. And it also means that in Sanskrit, the entire sentence is basically just one word in terms of how it's pronounced, which makes things interesting. It means you can have sentences which are entire sentences which are puns and whatnot. And so yeah, other than that though, I've mostly been having fun with Sanskrit in terms of just getting a feel for how like words flow. And so what do I mean by word flow? Well, there's a tendency within languages to have a sort of set consonantal and vocalic pattern to them. So like in Russian, a common vocalic pattern is you'll see a consonant vowel plus TK and then usually like an A. So like lotka, which means a bolt in Russian. Or you'll see a pattern of consonant, vowel, like in govari, which means speak. And so the more you look at like a language's words and whatnot, and the more you practice sort of getting that stream of like the rhythm to it, and I mean rhythm here not in a stress sense, but in a sense of getting used to what usually tends to come after or how words are usually formed, generally the easier it's going to be for you to pronounce. So like for example, one trait I noticed in Sanskrit is that they have a lot of words like adyesha. So adyesha, adyesha, which seems to be a common. So there we have a consonant. I mean, wow, Calon, you really should not do this live. Oh well. Anyhow, so rather you have a vowel, consonant, and then a vowel plus the visarga, which I'll have to go over what visarga is later. That's a common one. Another common one is just consonant, vowel, consonant. And so, yeah, I think the one that sticks out the most are words like vishoka, where it's a K plus an A at the end and whatnot. Because that to me is just similar to like what Russian does. So yeah, like paribodayati. Oh, and that's another common one. You'll see a lot of yati and whatnot at the end of a word. That's because ati is actually a suffix that's used to form verbs, which is a fun fact, really. It makes things interesting. It's a very mechanical language, I've noticed. Like there aren't a lot of exceptions to the rules. And so, yeah, I've been looking through words. Words are fun. Kinu kalu, can it be that? And that's the other thing. There are a lot of also phrases that are simply idiomatic. So like kimcha. So kim means who or what. It can mean that in both an interrogative context as well as in sort of an exclamatory what? It can also mean why, which, okay, it's an interesting way. But it has a number of idioms to it. So like, for example, kimcha, which is like and why or and what, literally. But it means, in this case, moreover. So like, kimcha pashyamitam. Moreover, I see him. Would be an example. There's also kinchit, which means something, somewhat, slightly. So like, kinchit vadati would mean he says something. Kinchit vadati. Kinchit vadati. So, yeah, that's what that means. And kimapi, kimiti, in what terms, or with what in mind, why. There are all sorts of fun little idioms with that. And Oh, there's also the matter of articles. So an article is like the or a, like the book, a book. Sanskrit doesn't really have them per se. What they will do though is they will use their pronouns as a demonstrative adjective, which serves sort of like an article sometimes, but not really. It's kind of hard to say or put into like terms that make sense if you aren't familiar with this kind of stuff. But like Latin does the same thing, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, and Greek did the same thing. In fact, Greek's pronouns originate from, I mean, not pronoun, Greek's articles originated from a set of pronouns, which in turn then ended up getting stuck to endings. Which also seems to be something similar to what that Sanskrit does, because Sanskrit is an inflected language. That means there's a nominative, an accusative, and a dative, as well as an instrumental, as well as a genitive, as well as a locative. There are a lot of cases in Sanskrit, which basically determine like what the function of the word is in a sentence. So like, if I have an A for an accusative in English, I'll just make it up. Cat bites doga. It means a cat bites a dog. Doga bites a cat. Does not mean doga bites a cat, but it means the cat bites the doga. So yeah. And with that, I think that's enough for now. I will see you guys later. I'm glad the stream worked out.